So what kind of society is America really that they would engage in a game of Cahoots Roulette? What I mean by Cahoots Roulette is to have a civil war going hot with international implications in Ukraine, hitherto considered no man's land, recently discovered by Columbus. Well, if you look at what I think was High Court Circle, anyway, it was a little area in beyond Eastminster District in Highland Park of Pittsburgh, where Edward Osden lived, with Barry Osden, and the English kid. The English kid was someone who said he was going to start getting nasty because Billy Rod had taunted him about his accent. Well, if you look at the Billy Club, which is a pun, Billy Flynn, Billy Beck, and Billy Rod, they were the three fastest kids, the three kids who were faster than Colucci. And I took up a distant fifth place. I think Hugh Thomas and Ed Heath were there. You have this Billy Club, people who were around Conan McManus when I was attacked by Kasparowski and Ronnie Szynski. Ronnie and Kasper attacked me, and then the Pittmans took custody of me. They kidnapped and they put paint thinner in a rag in a paper bag and forced me to put it over my face and breathe inhalants. The pigs called it huffing. So you have this kidnapping and gouging situation going on from the Neva Corporation while these Israeli letters were coming from the High Court Circle crowd. What does that mean? Well, Bernard Waddenmaker was an Attica State Prison psychiatrist who turned me on to information about Yad Vashem. In fact, if you look at the little cartoon I drew of the schizoid man, you see that I was 9 years old, and it talks about the Promised Land, which isn't in the screed of Pazin or Schizoid Man by the unbearable fascist monks in Britain. But what in Operation Death Seed with Tive and Toba Levison and them guys, what it does is it shows I had been shown Yad Vashem, the Promised Land, been told about, been taught to dance the hora, Hava, Nagila, Hava, Nagila, Hava, Nagila, Vemisho, Hava, Narana, Hava, Narana, Hava, Narana, Vemisho, Uraki, Veneshame, Uraki, Veneshame, Uraki, Uraki, Veneshame. When I was about 6 years old. So the Promised Land, so I had reason to believe when they talked about Millions Time that they were referring to the past. That's what I was being taught by Wattmaker. So he controlled the prison gang and had these huge thugs come up and really, U.S. Steel were involved. I mean, they were really, boom, kicking me in the head. They had me down on my ground. And they kicking me in the head, bouncing me against glass windows and stuff. And these were provincial norms, according to the NAACC. In fact, the NAACC gets, oh man, they start they point out whispering, but they give some real think. When I say that, when I testify, in fact, that two kids, younger than the gang who tortured me, a little older than me, who were black, came out of Vento's Pizza, at great risk to themselves to prevent me from being killed by this gang, one of whom was armed with a Nazi dagger. These two black men, oh, you're the NAACP. He's trying to subvert the dominant paradigm. I'm trying to subvert the dominant paradigm, am I? I'm testifying that a couple black boys who weren't brainwashed came out and tried to help me. So, and I was in danger of my life, sir. They helped me. It's not unheard of. The NAACP doesn't do that kind of thing. For the white, you're not special. Well, the thing is that the mentality that goes around, the reason why they damage their credibility that way is because they put on a play after my father was murdered by the parochial salvage. I'm not saying the NAACP did this alone. Donna, who was white, they were white racists from South Africa. They were the inside cult around, the people who made Elon Musk rich. Put on a play where they Dixoned up a lady panther to seduce me so that Jeffman Corporation could come on the scepter of Biden and announce that Maduro Gojo, boom, boom, was being given to the black man by Donald Trump. And this was the script that they wrote to justify. See, they gassed me as a metaphor for Holocaust. It's like Cahoota's roulette. The grannies, all poor grannies, they get off the whoosh. And then they do this stuff. What's he, the driver of Kelly's go? Is he pinching bucks with showmen? What's he, the driver of Kelly's go? They make up tawdry, evil, stupid-ass, empty-headed, gibberish lies. And Magna Wen says, I'll tell Oliver Stone and he'll make them into a movie if you don't go along with us. So, just. And they kidnapped and tortured me and they gassed me because they were planning mass murder. They used a place called King's Estate. Now, the Fiddler's of Sobibor, which is what the Beatles modeled themselves on, would greet what Goebbels called the merchandise at the entrance to the concentration camps, where Bill Gates erected freedom, work is freedom, work won't free, or whatever Ford and Hitler came up with. And they would greet the merchandise, Goebbels called them, which meant the Jews who were going to be exterminated. And they led them to the Himmelschweg, which meant Heaven's Gate. You go the ramp road to heaven. And this was the gas chamber. So King's Heavenly Estate is where you get gas. This was across the street from Jennifer Rubin, who is the girl who looks like the girl. She introduced me to Gail Burstyn through a friend of a friend on Neva Pink Cinema. And they had this coffin where one of the Neva cuties seduced me, and an eye comes up in the crack in the door. And this was Pittsburgh. This was Pittsburgh, Howard Cosell, Woody Allen, Ronald Reagan, Hitler Reagan, the JFK killers, Dan Rather and that kook George Takei, planning the AIDS extermination. And they came up with this story with Penis Gabriel saying, put it in because virginity proves rape. If you don't put it in, then you're a rapist. He actually said this whole thing. Robert Fripp's bizarre, you can get a Braille reader and have them, they say justice is blind. Find somebody who isn't obsessed with his music, who isn't obsessed with his dapper DD, to go through his crypto past. He actually says he uses conveyances to get across to you that virginity proves rape. Only love can make love. You're rapacious. The girl was completely untouched. Completely untouched. She was a virgin. After dating me for 2 years. she would take off her pants and put her Mussolini on my chin, just like they have in Geoffrey Chaucer. You know how long ago that was? 1600s. Medieval, in the medieval days, they were as mature as Bill Clinton. And he huffs and he puffs and he says, well, no, there wasn't actual sex involved. There was something else. There was something else between him and Monica. What gives? Is that they were planning an extermination program, a lottery, because they're trying to get everything for themselves, because they want to burn fossils, because they want to put on a film about the end of the world that they can look at in their cellars, because they believe that they have the right to brainwash people and brand them to believe in the Beatles and Jesus and all those other things that are commercial. And they actually did this because they don't want echo schools. They don't want to teach alternatives to automobile gluttony. No, that's evil. They used to call it communism. Now they can't, because Putin's in the billionaire club. So they call it something else. They call it, what do they call it now? Put on your spinner beanie. They call it liar, play liar with little Jimmy Queermate, and who they kicked in the head and tortured. And they used me for three Holocaust simulation experiments. They had me in the top shelf of my towel closet, and Bucky used to say, top shelf. And then they'd go, no, don't say like Anne Frank. They used me for an AIDS experiment on Mount Desert Island, clocked to the AIDS attack while they were playing Two Virgin Pussy Ball. This is what they're doing. This is the reality of the show. This is the truth of the situation. And they're still at it. They come around sniffing. They give me murder mysteries called Dead Aim. I got one over here. I got today. You know, they try to make you think, oh, who are we going to get? Who will you love? It could be you. They murdered Susan Kennedy. I got a bawling letter from Courtney. And when I wrote back, they killed two more of them. So they're still at it. JNC's like, you better not play for a penny, because we rip them out innocently. Kill more than innocently. And they use Kirkland, like, you know, Kirk Homeland, Captain Kirk Homeland, when they land with the COVID meeting, which they gaslit me about left and right. I have tons of things they scribbled to me that look like Wuhan, COVID. And then they hit, you know, the ejection pack with James Bond's bio wheels and lift up and away. So they used me for 3 Holocaust survivor experiments. And now but he's a symbol of normalcy. Let's get back to normalcy. He's true. They had a dude named Truman Shump. Let me explain that. If you contract it, it says Trump. Truman Shump was the fourth stooge. Get it? Mussolini, Hirohito, Hitler, and Truman were the four stooges. America has basically fallen to the 50-50 pact between Russia and Hitler's Germany. Now, do the Russian people realize that this happened? Do they know? When I pulled out the library, Russian, Soviet religion in the Soviet Union card that shows that there was a D.D. Daria Dugan, I think is even her name, in 74. Mark Wagner in 74, who stamped it. Wagner's like their independent army. You see very clearly that these things like Umpqua are all encryptions of this war game. So they actually legalized abortions, not because they opposed it, because they wanted the thought of abortion to prey on enough people's minds that there was a great weeping and wailing about it when they released AIDS. Oh, Kirill comes from the Russian Orthodox Church. And all this stuff, you will be cleansed. Don't wail. Just die, just die, don't wait, just die. You will be cleansed. And did you notice that Greta Thunberg was told to trot onto the stage? Thelahan Thunberg with Schwarzenegger after he poached her. She was told to trot out on the stage. I mean, AFC drops indelible. When the indelible people, I got a poem sent to me called The Indelible Spirits from a dude whose refrain in his poetry is, and they were put to death, and they were put to death, and they were put to death. And so you have, she comes out, noticing with COVID, right at the moment when Queen Elizabeth decides to die, she spreads her wings. My last request is that all of you surrender America to African warfare. And they have Penis Gabriel saying, I will use under the scepter of poet's justice. And he turns little boys like woodies, little woody soldiers. He says, now this woody soldier, did you know it? And it's like an African proverb. He investigated the poison water with his sensory device, and lo and behold, he became a cripple of Parkinson's. He went out and had ordinary romantic encounters as a white. And I am the excellent imp of the perverted, says Penis Gabriel. The imp of the perverted, and he has been made into a moral snack. Don't say like Elephant Man. He has Parkinson's. And if any word that you utter to the contrary will come back and bite you on the ripperback stabbed ass of people who dared to tell on the British Empire. Retards. You're not supposed to say that. They've yanked out our tongues. Don't call us what we are. Yank them out. No tongue. Don't call us retards.